102.7 FM ìmúyangàn gbogbo ènìyàn.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. iPower 102.7 FM, the pride of the people.
ọjọ́ rẹ̀ bí àná dàgbò òmìnira 1960 nígbà yẹn things easy gẹ́gẹ́ bọ́n ṣe rí darúgbó tó mi lọ lòdùnú pátí gbòmìnira òmìnira ìdí dàbí ẹ̀wọ̀ náírà wá ìlú polúkúrú mùsù ewé tàgbà ọjọ́ yẹn wọn níṣu abẹ́ orí ewé rí ṣùgbọ́n ẹ ò fẹ́ rí abẹ́ orí àgbà ẹ̀rí àtẹnujẹ ló fẹ́ pa yín pẹ̀tẹ̀pẹ̀tẹ̀ taná ní ìpọ̀pá ẹni bá tàgbà kó lọ mọ́ ọ̀fẹ́ ṣé pẹ̀lẹ́ máa sùn ṣé bá sọ pé ò mọ kankan ẹ̀yìn àrò lẹ́ máa wà ṣé pẹ̀lẹ́ máa ń ṣẹlẹ̀ o ṣé pẹ̀lẹ́ máa sùn ṣé ní kò ṣẹ́nu wá kan ẹ̀yìn àrò lẹ́ máa wà.
Kí ni sùúrù tí ò lérè? Kí ni iṣẹ́ tí kò ṣeré? Wọ́n ṣàlàyé ọ̀tún.
Change is an inevitable phenomenon in human existence.
ẹni bá tàgbà kó lọ mọ́ ọ̀fẹ́ ṣé pẹ̀lẹ́ máa sùn.
It is constant.
ẹ̀yìn àrò lẹ́ máa wà.
Unavoidable. And ever present. However, the direction you to change and the manner in which it is managed determine whether it results in progress.
Òkùnkùn dáná ní ìpọ̀pá ẹni bá tàgbà kó lọ mọ́ ọ̀fẹ́ ṣé pẹ̀lẹ́ máa sùn ṣé bá sọ pé ò mọ kankan ẹ̀yìn àrò lẹ́ máa wà ṣé pẹ̀lẹ́ máa ń ṣẹlẹ̀ o ṣé pẹ̀lẹ́ máa sùn ṣé ní kò ṣẹ́nu wá kan.
Development stagnation or its decline.
máa ń ṣẹlẹ̀ o.
Kí ni sùúrù tí ò lérè?
It is on this profound note that I warmly welcome you to Pinpoint. One of the most informative, educative, analytical, and thought-provoking program from the stable of your favorite radio station frequency, iPower 102.7 FM, transmitting live from Emrele in Owo. Pinpoint is a current affairs and editorial analysis program designed to keep our listeners abreast of events, developments, policies, and issues that continue to shape the Nigerian political, economic, social, educational, and the security landscape of the country called Nigeria. As the nation evolves through various challenges and opportunities, the program Pinpoint provides a platform from objective analysis, objective analysis,
tí ò
informed commentary,
kí ni iṣẹ́ tí kò ṣe
and constructive engagement on matters of public interest.
ṣológo ó kúkú
dáná ní ìpọ́pá ẹni bá tà
We take a closer look at government policies,
pẹ̀lẹ́ máa sùn. Yẹ bá sọ pé o mọ kankan, ẹ̀yin àrò lẹ́ máa wà. Ṣé pẹ̀lẹ́ wà?
national developments,
Pẹ̀lẹ́ máa sùn. Ṣé ní o ṣẹ́ kan wá kan
political activities,
máa wà? Ẹ wá ṣẹlẹ̀ o.
kí ni sùn
security concerns,
kí ni iṣẹ́
economic trends,
wọ́n ṣàlẹ́yìn ọ̀tún
educational reforms,
ó kúkú
Dáná ní ìpọ́pá.
and other topical issues that affect the lives of Nigerians.
Yẹ bá sọ pé o mọ kankan, ẹ̀yin àrò lẹ́ máa wà. Ṣé pẹ̀lẹ́ wà ṣẹlẹ̀ o?
You should know that beyond merely reporting events,
Ṣé ní o ṣẹ́ kan wá kan, ẹ̀yin àrò lẹ́.
the program Pinpoint seeks to examine their causes,
kí ni sùúrù tí ò lè
implications,
kí ni iṣẹ́
and possible solutions.
wọ́n ṣàlẹ́yìn ọ̀tún
All this put together empowers our listeners with the knowledge required to make informed opinions and contribute to nation building.
Yẹ bá sọ pé o mọ kankan, ẹ̀yin àrò lẹ́ máa wà. Ṣé pẹ̀lẹ́ wà?
It should be known
Ṣé pẹ̀lẹ́ máa sùn?
that an important feature of this program
Lẹ́ máa wà. Ẹ wá ṣẹlẹ̀ o.
is our interactive feedback segment
kí ni iṣẹ́ tí kò ṣeré
where listeners are given the opportunity
ṣológo ó kúkú
Dáná ní ìpọ́pá ẹni bá tà.
to participate through phone calls
Ṣé pẹ̀lẹ́ máa sùn? Yẹ bá sọ pé o mọ
and other communication channels.
máa wà. Ṣé pẹ̀lẹ́ wà ṣẹlẹ̀ o? Ṣé pẹ̀lẹ́ máa sùn?
This segment, no doubt, enables members of the public to express their views,
Ẹ wá ṣẹlẹ̀ o.
opinions,
ní sùúrù tí ò lérè
observations,
kí ni iṣẹ́ tí kò ṣeré
and suggestions on issues discussed during the program.
kọ́ ó kúkú
Dáná ní ìpọ́pá ẹni bá tà.
Like I've always said,
Ṣé pẹ̀lẹ́ máa sùn?
your voice matters.
Kankan, ẹ̀yin àrò lẹ́ máa wà.
Your opinions count,
Wá ṣẹlẹ̀ o. Ṣé pẹ̀lẹ́ máa sùn?
and your contributions enriches the quality of public discourse.
Máa wà. Ẹ wá ṣẹlẹ̀ o.
Once again, I welcome you on board Pinpoint,
kí ni iṣẹ́
the program that goes beyond the headlines to uncover the facts,
wọ́n ṣàlẹ́yìn ṣológo
analyze the issues,
kúkú
Dáná ní ìpọ́pá ẹni bá
and provide clarity on matters affecting our society.
Yẹ bá sọ pé o mọ kankan,
I remain your humble host, Akin Adebayo,
wá ṣẹlẹ̀ o. Ṣé pẹ̀lẹ́ máa sùn?
and sincerely, I am honored to be your host.
Ẹ̀yin àrò lẹ́ máa wà.
I employ us to stay tuned as we begin today's edition of Pinpoint. We'll be back in a minute. Please don't change the dial.
ṣeré wọ́n ṣàlẹ́yìn ṣológo ó kúkú
Dáná ní ìpọ́pá ẹni bá tàgbà kó lọ mọ ọ̀tẹ̀ ní. Ṣé
Thank you for staying with us. On today's edition, we shall be talking in an in-depth and analytical look at the public records, dossier on Bola Ahmed Tinubu educational qualification. I deliberately choose to bring this discussion to the front burner because, as we all know, this was one of the major discussions held prior to 2023 election.
wọ́n ṣàlẹ́yọ̀ ṣòlókọ̀.
This issue has continued to generate discussions
Tàná ní ìpọ̀pá ẹni bá tàgbà kó lọ mọ́ ọ̀tẹ̀ ní. Ṣé pẹ̀lẹ́ máa sùn? Ṣé bá sọ pé o mọ̀?
across the country because of its significance
Ṣé pẹ̀lẹ́ máa ṣe?
to our national development,
Pẹ̀lẹ́ máa sùn. Ṣé ní òṣè kan wá kan?
democratic growth,
Ẹ wá ṣẹlẹ̀.
and economic stability.
ní sùúrù tí ò lérè,
In the course of this program,
iṣẹ́ tí kò ṣeré,
we shall examine the background of this issue,
ṣòlókọ̀.
its implication for Nigerians,
Bá tàgbà kó lọ mọ́ ọ̀tẹ̀ ní. Ṣé pẹ̀lẹ́ máa sùn?
the position of relevant stakeholders,
Fọ́kàn ẹ̀yin àròlẹ̀ máa wà.
and the possible way forward.
Ṣẹlẹ̀ o, ṣé pẹ̀lẹ́ máa sùn? Ṣé ní òṣè?
As always,
Ẹ̀yin àròlẹ̀ máa wà.
our objective is to provide balance,
Kí ni sùúrù?
factual, and incisive analysis that will enable our listeners to better understand the subject under discussion.
Kọ̀. Ó kúkú
Tàná ní ìpọ̀pá.
I encourage you to pay close attention
Ṣé pẹ̀lẹ́ máa sùn?
and participate during our feedback segment
Ẹ̀yin àròlẹ̀ máa wà. Ṣé pẹ̀-
where your views and contributions
Ṣé pẹ̀lẹ́ máa sùn?
will be highly appreciated.
Ẹ̀yin àròlẹ̀ máa wà.
I encourage you also to stay with us as we delve into today's topic right here on Pinpoint.
kí ni iṣẹ́ tí kò ṣeré, wọ́n ṣàlẹ́yọ̀ ṣòlókọ̀. Ó kúkú
Tàná ní ìpọ̀pá ẹni bá tàgbà kó lọ mọ́ ọ̀tẹ̀ ní. Ṣé pẹ̀lẹ́ máa sùn? Ṣé bá sọ pé o mọ̀ kankan? Ẹ̀yin àròlẹ̀ máa wà. Ṣé pẹ̀lẹ́ máa ṣẹlẹ̀ o? Ṣé
Like I said, we shall be discussing on the public record dossier on Bola Ahmed Tinubu educational qualification. I think the question that will be coming to our various minds now is, why is this man trying to bring on the educational qualification of Bola Ahmed Tinubu? As we all know, this has been one of the major issues of discourse for the past, if I'm not mistaken, far back 1999, when he wanted to contest as the governor of Lagos State, when Senator Tokunbo Fikuyomi actually deposed to an affidavit. Now, after he emerges, there was so many litigation against it. After his tenure as governor of Lagos State for 2 terms, the issue was, should I say, it was not laid to rest. It was allowed to rest, not laid to rest. It was allowed to rest for a while. And lo and behold, this same issue resurfaced again, built up to 2023 election, and so many drama actually came up. After he won the election again, it was equally allowed to rest, not laid to rest, with emphasis. It was just allowed to rest temporarily. And now again, the issue is rearing its ugly head. But I'm sorry if I use the adjective ugly, but the issue again is coming up. But of course, we've had so many issues regarding this issue of Bola Tinubu's educational qualification, to the extent that there was a trial was held at CSU, that is Chicago State University. Even right here, even after the election, it was taken to, it was subject to litigation, and so many things actually came up. I've read so many articles concerning it. I've read so many opinions regarding it. So many authorities, so many legal authorities regarding it. I've read a lot about it, but I have now decided to compile everything together to now even bring to our understanding. Or should I say to our listening pleasure? Let me put it that way. I wouldn't say understanding, because you all are entitled to your own opinion as I am entitled to mine. At least let me bring it to our listening pleasure. And from there, begin to dissect what has been said so far about this man. Is it true or false? If it is true, why is he still the president of Nigeria? If it is true, Why does it appear he's always surviving it? If it is true, why does it appear? I don't know. I think it is high time we begin to like study the enigma called Bola Tinubu. What kind of person he is? That's why I said I've been able to compile all these opinions, legal, what of view together, and I come up with something. And that I'll be reading to our listening pleasure today. Like I said, it's just a compilation, subject to your own opinion, your own idea, which you're entitled to, your own point of view. We are not here to criticize anybody, no. We are equally here to hear your opinion and reshape, if when necessary, anything that you read out to your listening pleasure that you think does not fall in tune with what is actually obtainable. Be back in a moment. Please don't change the dial. Attach to it as chronology of controversies, institutional records, and judicial pronouncements from 1998 to 6 August 2026. Executive finding. The controversy surrounding President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's educational qualification contains two distinct questions that are frequently confused. Did Bola, let me say, I'm sorry, I want to say Ahmed. Did Bola A Tinubu, because because the college result that CSU, that is Chicago State University, obtained, you know, like in Chicago State University institutes in America, like not like Nigeria, that you just tell them that you graduate from a particular school and before Jack Robinson, the institution of your wish start process your admission. No, American European school don't do theirs like that. They compile it and go to that school that you claim that you actually attended and ask for a request of the original copy of your result. So in the results presented to CSU, that is Chicago State University, the name on it was Bola A Tinubu. Bola A Tinubu. So I'll start again. Did Bola A Tinubu attend and graduate from Chicago State University? Was every certificate, affidavit, or educational statement submitted in its political findings authentic and accurate? Chicago State University has repeatedly confirmed that a person named Bola A Tinubu attended the institution from August 1977 to June 1979 and received a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration with honors on 22nd June 1979. The university record identified accounting as its major. However, the public controversy has persisted because of discrepancies involving 1. Primary and secondary school listed in earlier political documents. 2. The references to Government College Ibadan. 3. References to both the University of Chicago and Chicago State University. I take that again. References to both the University of Chicago and Chicago State University, just like saying that University of Lagos and Lagos State University. That is the hypothetical example I can use for this analysis. University of Lagos and Lagos State University. 4. Differences in dates of birth contained in different records. The gender marker appearing in an earlier college transcript. This transcript received from the college actually went to Dear Bola A Tinubu. Along the sexual and the sex of the student was F, which stands for female. Should we now say that our president is a transgender? Well, he continues to go to our discussion. The gender marker appearing in an earlier college transcript. Differences between diploma copies. 5. The university's inability to authenticate the exact diploma copy presented to INEC. Now, I would want to start analyzing this one after the other because I've done everything in the write-up. The name appearing on an NYSC certificate. 7. Allegation concerning the entry qualification used to get admission to American colleges. 8. The omission of primary and secondary education from later INEC forms. 9. And the legal questions whether any inaccurate document was actually presented to INEC as a forged certificate. I will continue by saying that no Nigerian court has delivered a final judgment after a full trial holding that Tinubu forged the Chicago State University degree certificate. Equally, the 2023 Supreme Court did not conduct a substantive trial of the newly obtained Chicago result. It refused to admit them principally because they had not been pleaded and introduced within the constitutional prescribed election petition period. How do I mean? What this particular write-up here is saying is that if you are alleging any person, you must have presented all your evidences. So there will not be room for additional evidences when the proceeding has started. Like I said, court did not conduct a substantive trial of the newly obtained Chicago records. It refused to admit them principally because they had not been pleaded, which simply means it's not part of the prayer pleaded then in the course of the trial when it was being tried then, or let's say when it was being petitioned, and introduced within the constitutional prescribed election petition period, which was 21 days. Because if you must, after the election, you have 21 days to write your petition in the administrative tribunal. The legally correct conclusion is therefore narrower than the claims advanced by either political sides. CSU, that is Chicago State University, confirms Tinubu attendance and graduation, but litigation has not produced a definitive merit judgment authenticating every document attributed to him or resolving every inconsistencies in his educational history. Part 1. The relevant constitutional question. Minimum educational qualification for the president. Section 131D of the 1999 Constitution requires a presidential candidate to have been educated up to at least school certificate level or its equivalent. A university degree is not constitutionally required. This means that the legal dispute is not simply whether Tinubu supplied primary or secondary school certificate. A person may satisfy the constitutional standard through one of the alternative qualifications recognized under the Constitution broad definition of school certificate or its equivalent. I say that again. This means that the legal dispute is not simply whether Tinubu supplied primary or secondary school certificate. A person may satisfy the constitutional standard through one of the alternative qualifications recognized under the Constitution broad definition of, I quote, school certificate or its real equivalent. You see, at times when I look at this particular section, it gives me a kind of goose pimples. If you are saying that for you to contest for an elective position in Nigeria, all you need is a school certificate or its equivalent. Because that was happening in Osun recently between Davido Ekpobolo and Adeleke. When Davido Ekpobolo, governor of Edo State, threw a jab at Adeleke, governor of Osun State, and Davido went ahead to present Ekpobolo's certificate. As I speak with you, like a report is going on it. The question is this: I have always asked myself. This particular section is saying that school certificate or its equivalent simply means all you just need is just to attend school certificate. 5 credits is not the question here. Which simply means if you have F9, like that of Adeleke, you can become Nigeria president. And that was why during the Buhari era, we had a Buhari that could not even present a school certificate. Rather, he presented a testimonial that he passed through that secondary school. Being a president over a professor of law and senior advocate of Nigeria. This country now cruise. I'm sorry, my listeners. It's just amazing. It's amusing. If somebody that presented a testimonial is presiding over somebody that is a professor of law and a senior advocate of Nigeria, I wouldn't say that's an aberration. No, that is just the provision of the Constitution. And that is why we keep on advocating that this constitution needs a thorough overhauling. Should I not shock you people again? Elective position or elective post, all you need, the minimum is school certificate or its equivalent. But you realize that before you can become ordinary SA or PA, and let me say SA, maybe of a cabinet level or a commissioner or a minister or maybe director of a board or what have you, you must present your NYSC certificate. Which simply means if you have NCE, you can't occupy an elective position. If you have OND, you can't occupy it. If you have HND, you can't occupy. Even if you have BSc and you are yet to serve, you cannot occupy a political office in this country. You must show your NYSC discharge certificate that you actually served this country. Why to stand for an election? All you need is just SSCE. These are breathtaking provisions in Nigerian 1999 Constitution as amended. And that is where all this problem emanates from. And that is why a finance minister, in person of Akin Adebayo, was thrown under the bus when she came from the UK to occupy the position of the Minister of Finance in Nigeria. And to my amazement, until the second year into our office, then there was this issue of NYSC certificate forgery. And that made her to resign. I can assure you. You see, like I've always said, the Constitution is not the problem, but the operators are the problem. In Nigeria, we are so criminally intelligent, I'm sorry, that we now begin to look for loopholes in the Constitution to exploit for our various gains, for our various interests, to protect our own personal interests. It's unfortunate. It is what it is. To back in a moment, please don't change the dial.
wọ́n ṣàlẹ́ ọ̀ṣọ́lọ́kọ̀ òkùnkùn.
Tàná ní ìpọ̀pá ẹni bá tàgbà kó lọ́mọ ọ̀fẹ́ ni. Ṣé bẹ́ẹ̀ lẹ́ máa sùn? Yẹ bá sọ pé o mọ kankan, ẹ̀yìn àrò lẹ́ máa wà. Ṣé bẹ́ẹ̀ lẹ́ máa ń ṣẹlẹ̀ o? Ṣé bẹ́ẹ̀ lẹ́.
Like I said, this means that the legal dispute is not simply whether Tinubu supplied primary or secondary school certificate. A person may satisfy the constitutional standard through one of the alternative qualifications recognized under the Constitution broad definition of school certificate or its equivalent. 3. Folk certificates are a separate disqualification. Section 137 subsection 1J provides that a person is disqualified from election as president if the person has presented a folk certificate to INEC. 3 elements therefore matters. 1. There must be a certificate or qualifying document. 2. It must be forged rather than merely inaccurate, irregular, or issued in an unfamiliar format. And 3. It must have been presented by the candidate to INEC. A false biographical statement and a false certificate are not automatically the same legal offense. Perjury, false information, and certificate forgery requires different evidence and may involve different procedures. I'll take that again. A false biographical statement and a false certificate are not automatically the same legal offense. Which means you can forge it, but so far you did not present it. The very minute you present it, that's when it becomes the issue of perjury. False information and certificate forgery require different evidences and may involve different procedure. Part 2. The 1998-1999 governorship filing. The December 1998 INEC form reads, ahead of the 1999 Lagos governorship election, Tinubu submitted INEC form CF001 and associated declaration. The statement later placed in dispute reportedly includes claims that he had attended 1. St. Paul's or St. John Primary School in Lagos, or a children-owned school in Ibadan. 2. Government College, Ibadan. 3. Richard J. Daly College in Chicago. 4. The University of Chicago. And 5. the Chicago State University. I tell that again. The certificate Bola A, I wouldn't say Ahmed, the certificate Bola A Tinubu presented in 1998 to INEC to contest the 1999 governorship election in Lagos State. That was when we are now going back into democracy. The statement read as follows. 1. St. Paul or St. John Primary School in Lagos, or a children's home school in Ibadan. We are talking about 3 schools here now. St. Paul or St. John, and a children's home school in Ibadan. 3 schools. Government College Ibadan, Richard J. Dallas College in Chicago, and the University of Chicago and the Chicago State University. The University of Chicago and Chicago State University, just like Lagos State University and University of Lagos. The allegation was not merely that it lacked sufficient education. It was that some schools and dates appearing in the document were inaccurate and that he had sworn to correctness of the information. I take that again. The allegation was not merely that it lacked sufficient education. It was that some schools and dates appearing in the document were inaccurate and that he had to sworn to the correctness of the information. Like we all know. A friend of mine then back in school, that was the mistake. At times when we are filling some forms, there may be some mistakes. Some kids may say your surname should come first. Some kids may ask about your middle name and stuff like that. Like for instance now, somebody that is not well acquainted with institutions in Lagos might mistake Lagos State University for University of Lagos. I'm not holding brief for anybody here, but most of us commit mistakes like that. Even at the level of even filling the forms yourself. That is why even Professor Chukwuma Soludo made a similar mistake. And that was when I said that he should have allowed somebody to fill this form for him. It's not that he's not educated, he's a professor. And that is why it is tomorrow we continue to call the legal profession the learned course, the learned seal, or the learned person. Because that appears to be the only cause that, you'd like to look for, loopholes, you predate, you leverage on your on the colleagues' weaknesses, and you begin to come in from that angle. So that is why you dot the I's, and you cross all the T's. That is why it's not that you are not educated, no, but there are some issues that is best left for those that knows how to handle it better. Filling a form transcends you being educated. No, some technicalities might be involved. That you need somebody that is well acquainted, somebody that is well not knowledgeable. We are all knowledgeable in our various fields. Like that's how I've always said it. Nobody's an illiterate. A mechanic is not an illiterate. A carpenter is not an illiterate. Because a professor cannot do the work of a mechanic if he's not into mechanical engineering. A professor of mechanical engineering cannot do the work of a carpenter so far he's not into furniture making. So as long as you are able to provide one services of the order, then you are literate on that job. And that is why I keep on saying it. I'm sorry for those that feel offended. I'm sorry. Instead of going to study business administration in the higher institution, why not go and meet a paper seller or a store owner and learn business administration from such person and learn it directly? And that is because that is the core art of business enterprise. That is by the way. Now, contemporary accounts state that the disputed form associated him with Government College Ibadan and the University of Chicago, Tinubu later maintained that part of the form had been completed by Senator Tokunbo Afikunyomi during the hurried and contentious Alliance for Democracy nomination process. I'll take that again. Contemporary account states that the disputed form associated with him attending Government College Ibadan and the University of Chicago, Tinubu later maintained that part of the form had been completed by Senator Tokunbo Afikunyomi during the hurried and contentious Alliance for Democracy nomination process, which simply means that Senator Tokunbo Afikunyomi was one that actually filled the form for Indian in absentia when it was asked to be submitted in a hurry. Of course, we all knew the ups and downs surrounding the primary between Tinubu and Funshaw Williams, late Funshaw Williams. So I think the form was submitted very late. It was a very turbulent issue then, between Funsho Williams and Tokunbo and Tinubu. So it was Afikuyomi that eventually submitted the form. And as we all know, it was around then he has left the country when he was being, hunted about by late General Sani Abacha, then former head of state. So I think it was Afikuyomi that actually filled the form and submitted it then. Like I said, I am not able to gather, and I just think we should just listen to it and, come to conclusion after making an assessment of it. You cannot come to conclusion about it. University of Chicago versus Chicago State University. I tell that again. University of Chicago versus Chicago State University. This remains one of the largest running point of public confusion. The University of Chicago and Chicago State University are separate institutions. The institution confirms that Tinubu graduated in Chicago State University, where an earlier declaration of public profile referred to the University of Chicago. Critics treated the reference as evidence of false representation. Tinubu's defendant described it as one of the errors in the nomination documentation rather than prove that he fabricated a Chicago State University education. I tell that again. Where an earlier declaration of public profile referred to the University of Chicago, critics treated the reference as evidence of false representation, while Tinubu defenders described it as one of the errors in the nomination documentation rather than prove that he fabricated a Chicago State University. Government College Ibadan. Government College Ibadan became central because Tinubu was alleged to have stated that he attended the school during the 1960s. Critics said the school available record did not support that claim. Tinubu later disowned the primary. I tell it again. Government College Ibadan became central because Tinubu was alleged to have stated that he attended the school during the 1960s. Critics now said that the school available record did not support that claim. Tinubu later disowned the primary and secondary school entries before the Lagos State House of Assembly Committee and accepted responsibility for what he called needless errors. I tell that again. Tinubu later disowned the primary and secondary school entries before the Lagos State House of Assembly Committee and accepted responsibility for what he called needless errors. If I may ask, is it the one to say that the needless error or maybe the House of Assembly? I don't want to say that, while maintaining that another person supplied information in the form. This response raised a continuing legal and ethical issue. A candidate signed and sworn to a nomination form personally, even where an aide physically prepares it. So back in the moment, please don't change the dial.
Òkùnkùn dáná ní ìpọ̀pá ẹni bá tàgbà kó lọ mọ́ ọ̀fẹ́ ní ṣé pẹ̀lẹ́ máa sùn yẹ bá sọ pé ó mọ kankan ẹ̀yìn àrò lẹ́ máa wà ṣé pẹ̀lẹ́ máa wà ń ṣẹlẹ̀ o ṣé pẹ̀lẹ́ máa sùn ṣé ní oṣù kan wá kan ẹ̀yìn àrò lẹ́ máa wà ẹ̀ wà ń ṣẹlẹ̀ o.
Kí ni sùúrù tí ò lérè? Kí ni iṣẹ́ tí kò ṣeré? Wọ́n ṣàlẹ́yọ̀ tí ò lórúkọ.
Òkùnkùn dáná ní ìpọ̀pá ẹni bá tàgbà kó lọ mọ́ ọ̀fẹ́ ní ṣé pẹ̀lẹ́ máa sùn yẹ bá sọ pé ó mọ kankan ẹ̀yìn àrò lẹ́ máa wà ṣé pẹ̀lẹ́ máa wà ń ṣẹlẹ̀ o ṣé pẹ̀lẹ́ máa sùn ṣé ní oṣù kan wá kan ẹ̀yìn àrò lẹ́ máa wà mẹ́wàá ń ṣẹlẹ̀ o.
Kí ni sùúrù tí ò lérè? Kí ni iṣẹ́ tí kò ṣeré?
Welcome back. It's to your program Pinpoint from the stable of your most listened to radio frequency, iPower 102.7 FM, transmitting live from Imrele here in our local government. Like I said, we have a feedback segment where callers are allowed to call in to hear their views, opinions contribution and suggestion in the matter. And the studio line that you can call in to hear all this is 08165524699. I'll tell that again. 08165524699. Like I said, the government college Ibadan became central because Tinubu was alleged to have stated that he attended the school during the 1960s. Critics said the school's available record did not support that claim, while Tinubu later disowned the primary and secondary school entries before the Lagos State House of Assembly Committee and accepted responsibility for what he called, that is Tinubu himself, needless errors, while maintaining that another person supplied the information in the form. This response raised a continuing legal and ethical issue. A candidate signs and swears to a nomination form personally, even where an aide physically prepares it. I'll tell that again. It becomes a serious issue. If you're saying that someone actually filled the form for you, when the form was brought to you, did you just assent to it straight away without even going through what your aide actually filled? Well, like I said, I have not come here to judge. I have only come here to read out what I've been able to gather regarding the CSU or certificate issues and other things. Hello? Hello?
Yes, my name is Emmanuel. I'm calling from Owo.
Is all right. What's the name again, please?
Emmanuel.
Emmanuel, okay. Your opinion,
yes.
Contribution, or what do you have to say?
Yes, my contribution is that the issue of certificate is trash because it's not necessary at all for this period.
Okay.
The president they are talking about has achieved a lot. He became governor twice. He became is now the president and is coming up again to finish his term. So coming up with such certificate issue is not the fact. What we are talking about now is how the government rule the people and the people become happy. So the issue of certificate is a shame if we started bringing this issue into the world for people to know.
Anyway,
thank you
very much. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Yeah, that is an opinion from somebody, which I've always said, that's your own opinion. But what we are discussing here is the issue of, legal and ethical implication of what you're talking about here. Actually, he has performed going by what he just said. And of course, like I said the other time, we've seen instances where somebody just presented school living testimonial in person of Buhari and Oshibajo. But of course, if he said he has performed, that is not needed, that is his own opinion, and is equally entitled to it. But what we are discussing here is the constitutional provision, the legal, moral, and ethical standard required to stand for election in Nigeria. Investigation. A servant of the committee on 24 September 1999, the Lagos House of Assembly of 5 members had a committee to investigate the allegation of forgery and perjury against Tinubu. The committee was chaired by Babajide Omowurare. The other members were Thomas Ayodele Fadeyi, Adeniyi Akimade, Ibrahim Bola Babijo, and Saliu Olaitan Mustafa. A printed copy of the committee's 1999 report is catalogued in the International World Chart Library System. 8. Tinubu explanation for the committee. Tinubu reportedly appeared before the committee on 23rd September 1999 with Femi Falana as counsel. His explanation includes the following. The governorship nomination process have been hurried and contentious. Senator Tokunbo Fikuyomi supplied some information appearing in the form and affidavit. The primary and secondary school entries were erroneous. Its earlier 1992 SDP senatorial form listed its recognized qualification as a BSc in accounting certificate from Richard J. Danley College and Chicago State University as accompanied the earlier form. Very good. I tell that again. Senator Tokuma Fikuyomi supplied some information appearing in the affidavit. The primary and secondary school entries were erroneous. Take note, please, before 1999, his earlier 1992 SDP senatorial form, which he himself filled. His earlier 1992 SDP senatorial form listed his recognized qualification as a BSc in accounting. Certificate from Richard J. Danley College and Chicago State University had accompanied the earlier form. You see, like I've always said, lawyers will continue to make money in this country. If you continue making mistakes, it is your mistake that bring money to their pocket. I'm sorry, and Yamofi, they're not cancel. But that's your simple truth. If a form has been earlier filled in 1992, and one was again filled carrying an error, I now say that the original person now said that okay, the one of 1992 is the authentic one, not the one of 1999. In 1992, he filled it by himself. 1999, someone helped him to fill it. Like I said, Chicago State University, University of Chicago, they are two different things entirely. It's just like Unilag and Lagos State University. But he's now saying that the 1992 form he filled under the party SDP, that is during the MKO Abiola, presidential era, is the most authentic one. But anyway, it is what it is. Oppositions, we always look for your weakness, leverage on it, and deal with you from that angle. And the errors were inconsistent with its established political records and therefore should not be treated as deliberate forgery. The committee also reported that the original petitioner could not be located at the addresses supplied and did not attend its proceeding. This is a serious issue. There's the Latin prison that says, he who asserts must defend. By the time you assert a particular position, you must be able to defend that position. It becomes a serious issue that the people that actually petitioned him did not have an address and did not even attend the proceeding. Committee outcome: the House of Assembly did not impeach Tinubu and did not make a finding that he had committed certificate forgery. Nevertheless, the proceeding did not permanently resolve the matter. Critics argued that the committee accepted an explanation that shifted responsibility for a sworn declaration to an aide. Supporters argued that the committee investigated the allegation and found no basis for constitutional action. This was a legislative investigation rather than a criminal trial. It therefore did not produce a criminal conviction, acquittal after prosecution, or a judicial declaration authenticating every educational statement. Part 4, that is the Gani Family Court action, originating summon of 7 October 1999. Chief Gani Fawehimi, a legal colossus, a legal luminary, filed proceedings at the Federal High Court seeking an order compelling the Inspector General of Police and other authorities to investigate allegations of criminal conduct arising from Tinubu's educational declaration. The case eventually became Fawehimi versus Inspector General of Police and others, LC 201/2000, reported as 2002 7 Nigerian Law Report, Part 764, 606 and 2002 NGLC 17. Federal High Court and Court of Appeal proceedings. The central constitutional question was whether Section 308 of the Constitution, which protects a sitting governor from civil and criminal proceedings, also prevented the police from investigating alleged criminal conduct. Now, let's get it right. They are different from you prosecuting a sitting governor, because Section 308 of the Constitution has protected the sitting governor from civil and criminal proceedings. But the question again is this: does it now prevent the police from the investigation alleged criminal conduct, it simply means you can investigate and not prosecute. At least investigation, I wouldn't want to say for academic purpose. No, police can seek other investigation, but cannot be prosecuted. But Section 308 of the Constitution protects sitting governor, but does not exempt police from carrying out investigation. They cannot just prosecute him. The litigation progressed from the Federal High Court to the Court of Appeal and then to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court judgment of May 10, 2002. The Supreme Court dismissed Fawemi's appeal. The judgment is often inaccurate, described in political argument as either 1, a Supreme Court declaration that Tinubu's certificates were genuine, or a Supreme Court finding that Tinubu committed forgery but was not protected by immunity. I tell that again. The Supreme Court dismissed Fawemi's appeal. The judgment is often seen as inaccurately described in political engaged argument as either a Supreme Court declaration that Tinubu's certificate was genuine, or a Supreme Court findings that Tinubu committed forgery but was protected by immunity, which means there was no definite judgment by the Supreme Court by virtue of the government dismissal of his, of his petition. Now, because it was not confirmed if Tinubu's certificate was genuine, neither was it confirmed if he actually committed forgery. Now, the case principally concerned the scope of governor's constitutional immunity, whether mandamus could compel the police to investigate, and the legal relationship between investigation and prosecution while the governor remained in office. That's another twist to it entirely. Meaning that, fine, Section 308 protects the governor from being prosecuted, but does not stop the police from carrying out investigation. Another question again is this: after the governor must have vacated that office, can't he be prosecuted? And I think that is the case principal concern comes in, that the scope of governor's constitutional immunity, whether mandamus could compel the police to investigate, and the legal relationship between investigation and prosecution while the governor remains in office. Like I said, the governor may not be able to be prosecuted and the president, because it's still in office. But by the time he vacates the office, can he be questioned? Can he be prosecuted? Our time is fast spent on this program. It is on this note that we call on the program today and urging our listeners that the next week we continue from where we paused. It's a long research. It's a long write-up. It's on this note that I want to call it a wrap today on the program. My sincere appreciation goes to the General Manager of this great radio station, in person of Engineer Paul Olotu, all head of departments, the engineering crew that has made this program a huge success,